Hey guys, had kind of a busy week and wasn't able to do any real thorough research on anything. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to show off a little cemetery that's cool, not because of its history, but because of its setting. You see, somewhere behind me, locked away within these trees, is the Morey-Ross lot. A tiny little cemetery with no roads leading to it, just some old cart paths kind of dotting the landscape. Let's go find it. We're also visiting these woods here as spring ends and summer begins, which means we're in maybe the most lush time of year here in southern New England. All the mountain laurel around here is blooming too. Looks really great. By the way, I can tell this is an old cart path because of this stone wall running along the side here. This is pretty common in New England. Whenever you see one along the side of a relatively wide path like this one, then it was probably made for farmers to drive carts along and stuff. There's actually a wall on this side too. It's just in a lot further state of degradation. Okay, so my map said this right here is a trail, but now I'm beginning to think that my map was written by ticks in order to lure me out here. Oh yeah, I should also mention that this land that the forest is on is also old defunct quarry land. I'm standing on a big pile of old rocks. You can find these all over these hills. See how trim and clean these cuts in the rock are? Ew, old quarry water. Okay, we should be getting relatively close to our cemetery now. According to my map, there's no trails that go to it, so I might have to bushwhack. But I'm thinking this being an old quarry, there probably might be some old cart path or something that I can take to get pretty close. So I'm just keeping my eye open right now. There's this big hill to my right here too, so it might be up at the top of that. I found what looks like some kind of trail right here. The cemetery is in this direction. It's definitely more than a game trail, so this might be taking us where we need to go. Okay, whatever trail used to be here, it's definitely starting to disappear. I can still kind of tell where it is though. So I'm just gonna keep going in this direction because this is the way the cemetery is for sure. Oh, no, actually I see it right there. It's right there. That's totally it. Whoa. Look at that. Is that a gunshot or someone dropping something? Holy cow, this is awesome. This is one of the coolest cemeteries I've ever visited. Look at the size of these white pines in here. Holy cow. This one is huge. Look at it. Trees like these ones are really special, not just because of how big they are, but also because of where they are. Because if you look through the rest of this forest and the rest of the forest shots I've shown in this video, no trees are even anywhere close to the size of these ones. And that's because a lot of this land, and most of the land you'll find in New England, was almost entirely pasture about a century or so ago. And it's only just recently started to grow back some of the forests that used to cover the entire area. So trees like this were here back when this land was entirely cleared, which means these trees were probably planted when the people in this cemetery were buried here. And they've just grown up ever since, watching the rest of the forest kind of spring up around them over the decades and decades that the cemetery has been here. Imagine that, this cemetery here just sitting up on a completely bald hill, just in the middle of pasture land, no other trees. You think when they planted this, they ever imagined that it would be pushing out far enough to knock the fence off course like this? I honestly can't even tell you how blown away I am by this cemetery. This is like without a doubt the prettiest one I've ever seen doing this show. Hey, so like I said at the beginning, I really wasn't able to uncover all that much about anybody buried in this cemetery, but one of the few that I was able to find anything on is right here, Mrs. Debra Ross, whose maiden name was Deborah White. Now you see, back in the day, in like the mid-1800s, a lot of cities and towns, especially if they had a port, used to have a section in their newspapers called Arrivals and Departures that would just sort of like list the people who were moving in and out of a city on any given day. One of those cities is Newport, Rhode Island, and in their section, the name Deborah White shows up a whole lot. Now, obviously, I can't be sure if that's our Deborah White or not. I'm sure it really wasn't that uncommon of a name, but if it was, I hope you enjoyed your time in Newport, Mrs. Ross. It's a real pretty city. These little unmarked just hunks of rock here are usually called field stones. No record of who's here. And the other one is right here, Edward Ross, a young man who died in the Civil War fighting for the Union. I couldn't find any exact info on what battle exactly he was killed at, but his grave says May 12th, 1864 in Spotsylvania County, Virginia, which lines up pretty exactly with the Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse. A 12-day long battle costing the lives of a combined 30,000 soldiers across both sides. The Union did end up with the strategic victory in the battle, though, so nice job out there, Edward. Really appreciate it. Hey, and that's about it for me today. I'm sorry I didn't have any more stories to tell you about the people buried in this cemetery, but you know, with a graveyard like this, that might be for the best. You don't always need to know everything. See you next time.